We're Kimchi and Monsoon from Complexity, and we're here to teach you how to play like a pro. We're gearing up to play in Sapporo, Japan for the ALGS Year 4 Championships, so we're here to teach you the tips and tricks that players like us like to use. Apex Legends just released its 6th map, E-District, a densely packed urban island with enormous skyscrapers that bring a whole new level of verticality to the game. If you're looking to hot drop into E-District like an ALGS pro, we've got you covered. When we initially look at the flow of the map, there are some key points to take away to better your chances of success from start to finish. First of all, let's choose a landing spot, and from there, look at the circle. On E-District, you want to be constantly rotating due to the low quality and density of loot, aiming to position yourself in the least trafficked areas of the zone. When you place an empty and clear area on your back, you are effectively creating space for yourself and your team. This way, when pushing forward, you know that you are unlikely to be third-partied from behind, or in the case where your team needs to disengage, you know you can safely back up to reset or rotate. Surviving is the most important part of the game. Understanding when to fight, when to stop fighting, and when to rotate is the push and pull that will help lead you and your squad to success. Pathfinder's kit allows him to quickly navigate E-District's vast urban landscape with ease, as he can take height, aggress, and disengage quickly. On top of that, he's able to quickly accumulate Evo points by getting to Evo caches before anyone else in the early game. His purple perk, the Energized Zipline, is a valuable tool that allows you to be aggressive or defensive, whether you're converting an opening, taking space, or have to back up from a bad engagement. Make sure to plan your individual loot route around picking up the Evo caches in the area for your team to allow for better early game tempo and momentum. Let's look at an example where his grapple can take advantage of an enemy's safe spot by moving to a position that can see where they are healing. If used correctly, Pathfinder's Tactical is an invaluable tool for taking aggressive off angles that can negate your enemy's safe spots. Now let's look at how you can use Pathfinder's ultimate to take height. In most cases, an enemy will peek when they hear the audio cue of a zipline getting placed. However, if you win the gun trade, you can quickly take the zipline without fear. This is more so if you have your purple perk, as if they continue to challenge you, you will take 50% reduced damage while on the zipline. Newcastle is an amazing support character in Season 22 who allows your team to control space, reset in fights, and create cover for rotates or close quarters combat on E-District. The new loot bin changes introduced this season is also an indirect buff to Newcastle, as you can pretty much guarantee that you will have a gold knockdown shield by Zone 3. In conjunction with his passive ability, this greatly upgrades your team's abilities in both offensive and defensive situations. Newcastle's kit opens up a plethora of niche buildings, corners, and spots that are otherwise difficult or outright impossible to play without his ultimate ability. Some spots only have cover facing one direction. Newcastle allows you to create cover and block off the other angles that enemy teams may have on you. Let's take a look at an example where a teammate dies outside, but making use of Newcastle's passive and tactical, you're able to revive your teammate back inside of cover. A big part of Newcastle's ult is that he can lock onto teammates and jump to them. Here's an example where a teammate dies on the height of a building while the Newcastle's on low ground, but because of his ult, he is able to quickly jump to and revive his teammate while the enemy has no opportunity to stop the revive. Bangler's kit allows her to have insane uptime. Her smokes allow her to block enemy lines of sight, her ultimate allows her to take space and force teams off of height, while her passive, Double Time, allows her to gap close quickly or disengage from fights effectively. Her entire kit is extremely versatile, putting her in position to be one of the strongest picks across all maps, not just E-District. Being in the Assault class allows her to open assault bins throughout the map. With the loot changes introduced this season, her ability to find high-tier attachment gives you an edge over your enemies without assault characters, who are likely to be stuck with white or blue attachments at best in the early game. Here's an example of a basic application of her smoke, allowing her to cross safely while taking minimal damage. As you can see, in conjunction with her double time, she can quickly cross open spaces where most legends would either take damage, opening themselves up to a push, or get downed entirely. Now we can take a look at an example where we utilize our ultimate with smokes to push, take height, and ultimately eliminate the enemy. With great timing and teamwork, you can execute a fight-winning play to convert the pressure and damage from our ultimate into kills. Loba is a strong sleeper pick with the new loot changes, especially on E District, as the loot on the new map is spread out a lot more in comparison to other maps. Her passive ability, Eye for Quality, allows her to find purple and gold attachments that would otherwise be missed by other legends. Since the spawn rate of high tier loot has been nerfed in the early game, being able to find these attachments before your enemies allows for you to have an advantage in fights. Her ultimate, Black Market, allows her to loot a wide area quickly and efficiently. Since E District is a new map, you may be unfamiliar with the loot spawns throughout the buildings. Loba's ultimate will help mitigate this disadvantage while you get more time in on E District. Let's take a look at an example where Loba is able to loot using her ultimate and then reposition to high ground with her tactical. As you can see, her tactical is very useful, allowing you to engage, disengage, or take height over your enemies. With the introduction of E District, Alter has quickly become one of Monsoon's favorite legends. Her ability to infiltrate and take control of buildings make her one of the more versatile close-range legends, considering the types of buildings that we have on E District, along with the alleyways that can allow you to quickly outmaneuver your enemies. With the urban landscape of E District, her ultimate gains some strength in the fact that it may not be very easy to track where Alter and her teammates recall to, as the buildings can block the enemy's lines of sight. This leaves their only quick pursuit option to take the ultimate after you, leaving them open to an easy kill when they come out of the portal. Here's an example where we use Alter's tactical to convert the opening damage we obtain into a kill on an enemy holding height. As you can see, when taking your tactical, enemies in close range are highlighted, allowing you to track and pursue them easily to secure the kill. Now for an example where we use her ultimate to reset a bad approach. At this distance, without her ultimate, a reset would be very difficult, but with it, we are able to teleport back to a full safe position and get a full reset to reapproach. Revenant has had an extremely strong presence in the metagame since his rework. A character who has a passive that marks low health enemies, can climb higher than anyone else, to a gap closing tactical, and to top it all off, an ultimate that is a refreshing overshield results in a straightforward juggernaut character in the game. In E District, we keep talking about how important verticality is, and so it should be no surprise that with the mobility that Revenant has, he is a top pick. Fights in E District can also be finished quickly in close quarters with many knocks happening in quick succession. This is where someone like Revenant will really shine, as he will constantly refresh 75 shields on each knockdown. On this map, he can do it all, climb up the sides of buildings silently where no one would expect it, to just jumping on an isolated enemy, to even disengaging to potentially craft banners for a full reset. Let's take a look where his entire kit allows for him to challenge an enemy with height advantage and still come out on top. Revan is probably just the strongest pick at the moment, not just on E District, but all maps. Want to know what the best guns and strategies to run on E District are? Well, with the buff that shotguns received in Season 22, guns like the Akimbo Mozambiques and Mastiff have really begun to shine in the current gun meta. Previously, the Mozambique was really only viable if you had hammer points, but now that you can run Akimbo Mozambiques, even without hammer points, it is by far the strongest gun in the current meta. With a large magazine size, amazing strafe speed, and great damage output, it is an extremely forgiving weapon. And if you're able to find hammer points as well, which you most likely will if you can survive until the loot bins reset, you will effectively become a one-man army. One thing to keep in mind is that the Akimbo Mozambique do not really play out like the traditional shotgun. Let's look at an example of how to fight someone while running Akimbo Mozambiques. As you can see, while you can jiggle peek, the nature of the gun allows you to also slide out and challenge your enemy. Now enough about the Mozambiques. Let's take a look at the Mastiff. With Season 22, they buffed the damage each pellet does from 11 to 15 and reduced the number of pellets from 8 to 6. In the end, this results in a much more consistent damage output, making the gun much more viable than it was in previous seasons. And unlike the Mozambiques, the Mastiff does play out like a traditional shotgun, where jiggle peeking is rewarded as you can peek for a second, shoot, unpeek, and repeat until you get the kill on an enemy who is unlikely to be able to do the same to you. This method is very strong against spray weapons, as you can dish out large amounts of damage while they're wasting their magazine, and you can use this advantage and push them fully when you know that they have to reload. In conclusion, remember, playing Apex Legends is all about having a great experience with your teammates. So don't let our tips hold you back from trying out new playstyles or team compositions. We are simply providing some guidelines that can help increase your chances at success. You can use what we've gone over here as a general framework for how to build a team, approach a fight, rotate, or weapon selection. The key takeaway specific to E District is that controlling vertical space is extremely important, and picking legends that facilitate that will help push your squad to victory.